He's the Hulk, but red. That's right, we're talking about General Thunderbolt Ross. Hi, my name is Nando. In this series, I take a character from Marvel Comics who is being introduced into Marvel Snap. I talk about their background, their powers, their friends, their enemies, and give you some reading recommendations. Then I talk about how all that information factors into how their card in Marvel Snap works. Is it a good adaptation, or is it a not so good adaptation? This week we're talking about a character that both has a lot of history and not that much history, because this character is the Red Hulk. Now, you probably know who the Red Hulk is because you're in the future. But in the past, when this character was introduced in 2008, people did not know who it was. It was a big mystery. This guy just showed up and he just started beating up guys and killing guys. First, he executed the Abomination, and then he went and beat up She-Hulk. He was really just trying to show how tough and cool he was. And we didn't see him kill the Abomination, so nobody knew who he was. And he definitely wasn't the Hulk, because the Hulk was in jail. Maybe he could have been like an offshoot of the Hulk, like that happens sometimes, but people didn't think that's what it was. They thought another character had gotten the Hulk's powers and was just using them to wreck shop. And he clearly had connections to the Hulk because he had all kinds of grudges, but we didn't know who it was. And the other thing that was interesting about this guy is he was intelligent. Like sometimes the Hulk is intelligent, but usually your base Hulk is like a big, strong monster guy who's kind of uncontrollable. But this guy was just like a smart guy with a brain and a big Hulk body. And he also had a list of people that he wanted to beat up. So it was like, this is someone we know. Now, a lot of people pretty early on in Believe rightly guessed that it was General Thunderbolt Ross. Partially because like out of all of the characters in Marvel Comics, no one more than him has wanted to be the Hulk, even if he won't say it. Like he wants the Hulk's power for himself, or for the US military at least. But because of a couple of things that happened over the 27 issues of Hulk, it didn't seem like it was him. And forget about all the things where it was like he was in the room when the Red Hulk was in the room or whatever. For me, and I wasn't someone that read these as they came out, but I kind of kept up with this. It was like, well, it can't be him. He's got a mustache. Red Hulk doesn't have a mustache, unless that's a fake mustache. And it comes down to kind of what is the Hulk, which is always something that I've been kind of confused about. And I think this has been built up over the Hulk mythology, because like when Jen turns into She-Hulk, a lot of the times her hairstyle will change, but not like to longer version of whatever hair she has, just like to a different hairstyle. And it's kind of like, is the Hulk, you know, a human body just expanding and lots of muscles and stuff? Or is it some sort of other thing where like taps into your brain and you build what you think is the ideal body? Like, and it seems like it's that second thing. And that's why, for whatever reason, when General Ross turns into the Red Hulk, his mustache disappears. And then when he turns back into General Ross, his mustache is back. So General Ross, who's that guy? It's hard to say because there are a couple villains that are up there, but I think you can make the case that he is the Hulk's most consistent villain, even though he's not always quite a villain the same way that like the Joker is a villain, and he's not a real physical match for the Hulk, or at least not until he becomes Red Hulk. But like there's nobody who has been like, we gotta get this Hulk character more than General Ross. And a lot of the time it's just because he's like, oh, he's dangerous, we gotta do something about the Hulk. But a lot of the other time it's like, I really hate him. Like I just don't like him and I want him to go away. It's a very personal grudge. I mean, partially he just didn't really like Bruce Banner, and part of why is because Betty, his daughter, was more into Bruce Banner than she was, say, General Talbot or another more traditional military character. I think Bruce Banner was a nerd and he wasn't about that. And I know it sounds like I'm painting this guy with a broad brush, but for a while he really was just like, I want to be in the United States Armed Forces and serve my country, and that's the best thing you can want to be. So after the explosion that created the Hulk happened, General Ross became obsessed with the Hulk. And when he eventually found out that Bruce Banner was the Hulk, he became obsessed with Bruce Banner also, and like wanting to get them. And they had a relationship that I would say changed over time, right? Sometimes it would be this like, I have to kill this guy because he's bad. And sometimes he would get, you know, the Hulk would save everybody. He would gain a little bit of respect for the Hulk. But this pursuit of the Hulk, this kind of Captain Ahab, Moby Dick situation, ruined General Ross's life. It destroyed his relationship with Betty. She didn't want to spend any more time with him after she found out that he unleashed a supervillain to try to get the Hulk. And then that supervillain eventually killed her. So like that wasn't great. And after he worked with the supervillain, he was disgraced. He started drinking. It was pretty much over for this guy until the supervillain showed up. This was the Intelligentsia, by the way. You'll remember the name. That's the name of nerds and incels in the She-Hulk show. That name is taken from a Marvel supervillain group that exists. It's not the most significant group. It's like Leader, MODOK, Egghead, the smart characters in Marvel Comics, all getting together to do something, usually in the pursuit of power and knowledge. So they go to General Ross and like, hey, we could turn you into a Hulk and we could bring your daughter back to life. Wouldn't that be sick? And originally he doesn't want to do it, but eventually he decides to, and he becomes a new enemy for the Hulk. Also, two weird little stories, because this book came out in 2008, Hulk Volume 2. But the idea of a Red Hulk had bopped around before. First time, the creator of the Incredible Hulk show, when he was making that, like the one with Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby, like he basically asked Stan Lee, he was like, why is this guy green? He should be red. He's a rage monster. We should make him red. And Stan Lee was like, yeah, I know, but originally it was gray and we had problems printing it, so we decided to make it green, but we're just gonna go with green. But like, it seems like if that guy had his way, Hulk would have been red the whole time. The other instance that I think is way sillier, in Walkhart's Dewey Cox story, Dewey Cox talks to his manager. This is like late in the movie. So it's supposed to take place in the 70s, around when the Bill Bixby show is on the air in universe. And if you haven't seen it, Walkhart is a fantastic musical biopic parody starring John C. Reilly. And it's mostly a parody of Walk the Line, but it really goes through kind of all of the beats of those. And if you're like me, if you cannot stand musical biopics that are not about Elton John, then this is like such a funny movie that really lays out all the tropes of them. But anyway, they're talking about his show. Dewey Cox has a variety show, and they're like, you're getting killed in the ratings. And his manager's like, well, of course you're losing. On the Hulk last night, they revealed that the Hulk has an evil twin, and he's not green, he's red. Incredible. And even that like movie came out in 2007, so that was a year before the Red Hulk even showed up in comics. That's just, I don't know, that's just funny. I'm sure more people than two have ever thought of like, what if this character who is green was a different color? Also, when Red Hulk shows up, Red She-Hulk shows up, because the intelligentsia did bring General Ross's daughter back to life. It did bring Betty back, but they turned her into Red Hulk, so she is also part of this. By the way, so the issue that the Red Hulk officially first shows up in is Hulk Volume 2, Issue 1, written by Jeff Loeb with art by Ed McGuinness, Dexter Vines, Jason Keith, and Comic Craft. Thaddeus Ross himself, the original character, first appeared in 1962 in Incredible Hulk Issue 1, written by Stan Lee with art by Jack Kirby, Paul Reinman, and Artie Simek. So like, Thunderbolt Ross predates pretty much everybody else we're ever going to talk about in this series. Yeah, there's some Fantastic Four characters probably. There's the original Human Torch, he's not in Marvel Snap yet, but like, Thunderbolt Ross, he is a foundational character in Marvel Comics. But Red Hulk, not all bad, because he does eventually join the Avengers. And then his deal is he's just the smart, mean, general version of Hulk. Like, picture your basic, drill instructor jerk from your favorite army movie. That guy, but a Hulk. He's like more or less a good guy, takes what he's doing seriously, helps everybody get the Infinity Stones, helps fight the characters that were corrupted by the God of Fear and the Fear Itself storyline. And this is all around like the heroic age, that time in Marvel Comics. So, this is a time when a lot of things are changing. And yeah, he was the Hulk for that. He showed up on a lot of the cartoons, Hulk and the Agents of Smash specifically. He was also part of Earth's Mightiest Heroes. He shows up late in the game when like Bucky and I think Doc Samson are all introduced. But also like Hulk and the Agents of Smash was a show about Hulk, She-Hulk, Red Hulk, and A-Bomb, which is Rick Jones' superhero alter ego, which was also introduced in Hulk Volume 2, Issue 1. And it was them going on adventures, and he was the military hard-ass version of Hulk. Sometimes he has guns, like guns are part of his kit, sometimes they're not. Very famously, the first thing he does as Red Hulk is murder Abomination with a gun that he got from S.H.I.E.L.D., which is probably why everybody's like, man, this guy's part of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? We don't just give these guns away. Thunderbolt Ross was eventually depowered by Doc Green, and he was killed, I believe. I don't think that character is currently still alive. But I'd say like the Red Hulk run was pretty significant. Obviously, all the stuff he'd been doing before, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the Hulk comics, so I've not read all the great comics with the Hulk from the 70s and 80s and stuff, but like, he's part of all of the great Hulk stories, especially because he is this antagonistic figure where like, even if the Hulk isn't fighting him, he's fighting the military, and then General Ross is usually involved. So the Red Hulk's power set is complicated, because I know what you're thinking. Well, wait, so he's just like the Hulk, and a lot of characters are just like the Hulk. She-Hulk is just like the Hulk, and her powers are Hulk but a little bit less, or something. His powers are different. He gets strong, much like the Hulk does. He also gets hot, like he physically heats up, and like if you touch him, you burn. One of the first things people notice when they haven't seen this character yet, but he killed the Abomination, is that his footprints have like something sparkly on him, and they're like, what is this? It's glass, because when he stands on the ground and like it's sand, he heats that up into glass. So like, that's how hot this guy is. And he can punch, he's very strong. I would say like his base form is one of the stronger Marvel characters that exists on Earth at any given time. But he also has the power to absorb energy. So if he's fighting the Hulk is powered by gamma energy, right? Radioactive energy. It is surging, coursing through the Hulk's body. General Ross, as the Red Hulk, can like grab the Hulk and just suck that energy out of him, use it to power himself up. And this counts for a lot of stuff. Like very famously, he fought the Silver Surfer, drained the power cosmic from the Silver Surfer, and then used that to nearly kill him. So he can drain all kinds of energy. A lot of the time it ends up being gamma energy because he fights a lot of gamma villains. And the more energy he drains, the stronger he gets. So now you're thinking, how is this guy not stronger than the Hulk? He is. Until he's not, because he has been described as like a nuclear reactor. He gets powered up and really, really strong. He absorbs so much energy, but he does overheat and just, loses all this power. So while he doesn't have an upper limit to how powerful he can be, he has like a time limit on how long he can use that power. So if a character like the Hulk can tire him out or can get him to overheat and then tire himself out, you can beat the Red Hulk. That's how you beat him. Besides that, he has all the regular Hulk powers, regeneration, very, very strong. He is very intelligent, and also he can turn into the Hulk at will. Because like Bruce Banner needs to get angry physically to turn into the Hulk. Sometimes he doesn't need to, but usually he does. Whereas General Ross turned to the Red Hulk, just kind of decides to, and then he does. If you're looking for something to read Hulk Volume 2. That runs a lot of fun. It's probably also fun to read it not knowing who the Red Hulk is, but it's kind of interesting to read something like that knowing the answer to the mystery, because you see him in these, planning sessions going, who could it be? And everybody's like, I just can't know. And like some of the things that he does to trick everybody are kind of funny. Like I said, because he's the main Hulk character, he's been all over the cartoons and anywhere on TV where the Hulk has been, he usually shows up. He was in both Hulk movies. The Ang Lee Hulk, he is played by Sam Elliott. And then in the MCU, first in The Incredible Hulk, and then, 8 years later, Captain America Civil War, and then Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, both, little cameos. And then in Black Widow, played by William Hurt. Now, William Hurt died around when Black Widow came out or was supposed to come out or something like that. So that's his last version of this. He's been replaced by Harrison Ford, which I think is very interesting. And it seems quite likely that he is going to be the Red Hulk when he shows up in Captain America for, Brave New World. I think that's an interesting development. I just wish I could be there watching Harrison Ford in a ping pong suit growl around and pick up a big, styrofoam rock. That would be very fun. In Marvel Snap, the Red Hulk is a 6-cost, 11 power with the card text, when your opponent ends a turn with unspent energy, +4 power if in hand or in play. So the Hulk works the same way. If he's in your hand or on the board, if you end a turn with unspent energy, your Hulk becomes 2 power stronger. So this can turn like a Hulk, if you draw him early, into like a 20 power very easily. Now, the Red Hulk, it's going to be a little different. He's 6 cost, 11 power, so obviously starts a little bit lower, but he gets 4 power every time your opponent doesn't use energy. So like, sometimes this is on purpose. Sometimes you're doing a high evolutionary deck and you're trying to, save up energy, or you're trying not to use energy so you can power up your Hulk. And in this case, if your opponent is doing that and you have a Red Hulk in your deck, your Red Hulk is going to be like, I don't know, let's just game this out. Turn 1, you play a card because you don't really gain anything from that. But then like turn 2, you play Misty Knight or Sunspot or Nebula or something. So turns 2, 3, 4, and 5, your opponent has unspent energy. And then on 6, they play the Hulk that's like, I don't know, almost 20 power, if not 20 power. If you have 4 turns of your opponent not spending their energy, that is an extra 16 power that gets added to. So your Red Hulk for 6 costs is a 27 power. Like that is unreal. It really starts to add up. And sometimes this just happens, right? Like if you're playing a deck that has some high level cards and you haven't drawn like your lower level cards yet, you may skip turns 1 or 2. If your opponent has their Red Hulk, boom, their Red Hulk is now a 19. And sometimes you just can't play onto locations. Like you could play cards, but you have to play on a location that's full or something like that. So there are a lot of situations where the Red Hulk would be a great counter to Evolved Hulk, but there's also a lot of situations where the Red Hulk will just power up and turn into like a 19 power without you having to do much work. I wonder if there are cards that you can use to force your opponent to have unspent energy, like which cards those could be. And I wonder if Red Hulk will work well in decks like Baron Mordo, where your opponent will get cards they cannot play. So the fewer cards they can play in their hand, like, I don't know. I mean, and if this card made Baron Mordo viable, it truly would be like Marvel Snap Jesus, because that just does not happen. I don't know, I'm curious to see what cards it will synergize with. You know, it plays fine with a Hulk, plays fine with a She-Hulk. Like, he's a great enemy for Hulks and She-Hulk and the high evolutionary package in general. As far as allies, I don't know, maybe like Goose and cards like that. Control which cost cards your opponent can play. That would maybe make Red Hulk stronger. I'm sure there's some obvious ones that I'm not thinking of, but like, he's gonna be a pretty serious card. Also, I have a feeling Kyera will be pretty important, especially in a world where Shang-Chi is in like 60% of decks. And yeah, is this power a good representation of his comic power? Yeah, it's great. Because if you're fighting the Hulk and the Hulk's getting angry, he is draining the Hulk's energy and it's turning him stronger. And like, this is true of any of those characters, you know, like Cyclops, who's using his energy blasts to drain your character's power, or like She-Hulk, where your opponent's gonna have at least one turn where they don't spend very much cost so that they can have a very cheap She-Hulk later. So, you know, those are the cards that I guess he's extra strong against. But yeah, I think he's in danger of getting Shang-Chi a lot, so you're probably going to want to put at least an armor down with him. They'll be great friends. And yeah, as far as allies go, I don't know, he doesn't have that many allies. Like his allies, his two allies from the intelligentsia, and I wonder if these guys work together, are MODOK, who, you know, is not useful for him at all. Like they don't synergize well together. And then the leader, who like is an interesting synergy for Red Hulk. Like, if you know your opponent is playing 1/6 cost high power card and you have a lane with 2 spaces, then a leader will defeat that. So that's kind of cool, because those two characters have like a relationship. And as of now, there is no Red She-Hulk yet, so we'll see maybe if they add that character, she'll have something interesting to do. So far, Zemo and Red Hulk in the Thunderbolt season, 2 for 2. I would say 2 of the best put together cards I've ever seen in terms of like being fun to play, automatically being something I'm curious about, and also really fitting nicely into what that character does in the comics. So like, I'm excited for them. You know, the rest of the season will be maybe a little bit different. We'll see. But so far, off to a great start. So please, if you enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel, share this video with all your friends that play Marvel Snap or watch the Dewey Cox movie, and I will see you soon.